Hello. Thank you for having me. Let me begin with my traditional apology. I am by nature a fast talker. I was once known as the scourge of the United Nations Simultaneous Translation Corps. I would speak in what I thought was a very slow and measured tone, and I'd turn around and there would be a line of translator booths, and every one of them would be doing this. Couple that with the fact that I have now consumed almost enough coffee to drop a rhino, and it is a near certainty that I will start speaking quickly. And when I do, I invite you to do this and slow me down. So I wanted to talk today about some of what I think of as the prehistory of the Pirate Party and the movement that I think it is a flagship bearer for. I wanted to talk specifically about 1999 and the launch of Napster. When Napster launched, it became, at the time, the fastest adopted technology in the history of the world, and went from 0 to 52 million users in 18 months. It was shut down by a court in 2001. When it was shut down, it had 52 million users. 1 year before it was shut down, 50 million Americans voted for the Democrats and 50 million Americans voted for the Republicans. In other words, there were enough Napster users that if they represented a political party, they would have handily won the American election and quite possibly would have elected a better president than the one that the Supreme Court chose. But of course, that's not what Napster users did. If you want to understand what Napster users did, just stop cleaning up your apartment for a few months. Walk into your kitchen and turn on the lights and watch all the cockroaches run under the cabinets. Because that's what Napster users did when they shut down Napster. We all felt like we'd been getting away with something naughty. And as soon as we were told that we'd been very naughty, most of us slunk away and said, I guess it was a good ride, but now it's over. Now, Napster was a remarkably industry-friendly technology as these things go. You may remember, those of you who were around a decade ago, that they had some venture capital funding from one of Silicon Valley's blue-chip VCs. And my understanding is that those VCs walked into the various record industries' offices with a check and said, you just tell me how many zeros you want us to write on this check for us to have a legitimate license to use your music. That's how many zeros we'll put it on it. After all, Napster surveyed their users and found that more than half of them were willing to spend $15 a month to be a Napster user, which represented an ungodly sum of money for the music industry, potentially. $15 a month is a lot more than most people spend on music now, and a lot more than they spent on music then. What's more, the structure of Napster gave them a natural point where they could have audited usage and said, of the $15 we've collected from our users, this much goes to this artist and that much to that, because we know exactly what's been downloaded. Now, the shutdown of Napster didn't end file sharing, but it did end the creation of architectures for file sharing that were friendly to industry. Each subsequent iteration of file sharing infrastructure became less centralized, less subject to audit, less able to exclude people who hadn't paid. Over and over again, we saw the introduction of technologies, first Gnutella, all the way up to trackerless torrents, that are the kind of entertainment industry equivalent of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, a superbug that they can't get rid of. Now, on the one hand, this is not new. Technology has, through history, created a series of innovations that made it hard to control individual uses of copyrighted works. The playing of a record on the radio, or the playing of recorded music in halls like this one through speakers in the ceiling, all of these made it hard to control the individual diffusion of works and hard to exclude people who hadn't paid from them from listening to them and enjoying them. Now, the solution to that problem over and over again has been grounded in one of the most important American principles of commerce and ethics, which is money talks, bullshit walks, which is to say that as between the right to decide who gets to use your music and the right to be paid because people are using your music, getting paid is substantially more important for most people than merely choosing. In fact, this goes all the way back to radio, when legitimate artists, that was to say the artists that were popular on record, which is to say white, rich artists, not artists performing country music and not African-American artists, were represented by a rights society called ASCAP that wouldn't allow their music to be played on radio because they felt that radio was a pirate medium. And so a new rights society was created, BMI, that represented poor artists who performed country and Western music, and black artists, what were called race artists. And they were the only ones who got paid. And as a result, after a few years of this, all the so-called legitimate artists went to their rights societies and said, we don't care about our moral right to choose who listens to our music on the radio. We care about feeding our families. Screw our moral rights. Just get us paid. So when you step onto a stage at a karaoke bar, the barman doesn't figure out who Queen's manager is, where he lives, and call him up and